I created in the previous video, I explained it on paper how the scoping in JavaScript is working. So I've now created an example in CodePen to hopefully show you even more clear how the scoping is working. So let's first check here the visual part. And I created a couple of rectangles, and every rectangle is a scope. So the outer rectangle is the scope world. So that's more like it's the global scope. And inside of that, we have multiple scopes. So, and I want to show you what I did, and how you can visualize the scope. So in the HTML here, I created a couple of pre-tags in which the code will be visible. So let's dive into the JavaScript. And in the JavaScript, you can see that the world scope is declared in the global scope. So if you would check the console and you do type in window.world scope, you would see that. So this is the global scope because it is not declared in a function. With JavaScript, we create a scope via a function. So right here I have the apartment complex. So over here you see this is the scope of the apartment complex. And inside I've created the variables apartments complex scope, in which that scope is defined, and you will see it over here. So I've also created one for apartment and one for living room. So the global scope, so the world scope is accessible in every function, in every other child scope. So if we want to show the world scope and we want to put it in the apartment complex, we can do that. So now you see this variable is available over there. So let's put it back. But if we want the world scope and put in the apartment complex scope in it, so we can add it over here. And we wait, and you see there's nothing. There's only the curly braces. So it means the variable is undefined in the global scope. So the only place where that variable lives is inside that scope. Well, we can do that a lot of in all the other child scopes, but a variable that's defined in a function is only accessible in that function. Outside of that function, it is not available. So that's the great part of scopes and the variables. In a later video, I'm going to explain how the let and how the const variables are behaving in a scope. But that's a little bit different. But in this part, we can, if we want, we can override the world scope in the function. So, and here we say it's world 2. So we have to wait. And you see, in that function, we override the global scope in it. So in this function, we can override the apartment complex. And in the living room, we can override the apartment scope and the apartments and the global scope. So using the variable, just the normal variable, can be really dangerous or unpredictable because it can change over time. So, but I think that's more important to know when you're gonna use the let and the const. But for now, using the var variable with a scope is how I just showed you. And in a later video, I'm gonna show you the rest. And I will include the code pen in the video description so you can play with it and see how it behaves. Well, a lot of times over here you see set code in pre-tag. Well, that's just a function I created to put this code in the pre-tag. That's nothing more, it's just that simple. So play with the code. If you have questions, just ask in the comments, and hopefully you now understand how the JavaScript scoping works with the var variable.